That is Char2D2, produced by Tegan Quin, who is sitting in our studio and ready to go. That was Char2D2 with the song Taken Send from the EP Small Vampires, and it was Tegan who told us about this EP a few months ago. Also in there, Diamond Rings from Toronto with All Your Songs. We heard the Hidden Cameras with a song from their first album called Ecce Homo that was High Upon the Church Grounds. And we started off the set with Hayden from his record. I was thinking about this record this morning, actually, and wondering how it was doing, because Hayden did not tour it and didn't really do any interviews on it or anything like that. It's called The Place Where We Live, and that was the song Disappear. Grant Lawrence here on CBC Radio 3, broadcasting live, and we are happy to welcome in one of our favorite guests, Tegan Quin of Tegan and Sara, a band originally from Calgary, Alberta, whose first album came out way back in 1999. 10 years later, the band is about to release their sixth album. It is called Sainthood, and it comes out along with a series of books on October 27th, 2009. And here to tell us all about it, live in our studio in Vancouver, is Tegan Quin from Tegan and Sara. Hello, Tegan.
Wow, that is quite the mouthful there, Grant. And I wouldn't have believed that I was one of your favorite guests, except that people at home won't be able to hear this, but you'll be able to see it maybe online. Yes. But there's like an hors d'oeuvre plate here, with some crackers and some different kinds of cheeses and apple, and it was all sat here, and I was told this never happens here.
Well, it does. We're just flattering.
You're just flattering.
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I don't want it to go to my head.
Occasionally.
I don't want you to give an intro like you just did to the Hayden song ever to me. By the way.
What are you talking about?
I thought that was terrifying. That was really. Do you think that all artists have to tour when?
Well, I'm just saying. I'm saying that you know more than anybody that
you've got to tour.
Touring and getting yourself. I mean, that's just
maybe
part
he
of
maybe he just wanted to put some songs out.
Well, I think he did, and that's exactly what he did do. I'm just
was Disappear the single, or did you just pick that because you're clever?
No, I didn't. That's just. I think that's the follow-up single. That's the reactionary single.
Yeah, that's interesting. I also have some other additional questions for you. Do you guys only play Canadian music?
Yeah, we do. We actually had a debate on that, a live debate on our blog, and I was actually I was open. We are allowed to play international music, and our audience voted something like 75-25 to keep it all Canadian.
I like it because sometimes when you hear CanCon, it's like hearing like herpes. You know what I mean? Like it's like
what?
Well, there's this negative kind of weird thing about it, but there's like medication you can take and you can control your outbreaks. But I like when people are just playing Canadian music because they want to play it, not because they have to, and also when they're playing obviously the stuff that's not really like on other radio stations.
I've never heard anyone
I'm not really good at coming up with analogies.
CanCon to herpes.
I don't think that. I just mean I was just throwing it out there. It's not really like herpes.
All right.
I don't really know. I don't have herpes.
So anyhow, just to end the Hayden thing, I was concerned about him. That's why I was thinking about him.
Did you call him up? I mean, sure you've interviewed him. Or
I have, but no, I didn't call him.
Just leave him be. Leave him be.
Okay.
Just play his records and leave him be.
Yeah. So now the last time I saw you was a basement in Australia.
It's true.
Yeah.
Just in Australia.
Yeah, just in Australia, Sydney, Australia. That was an incredible show.
It was fun, yeah.
And I believe that you played a few new songs that night. And
none of which were going to be on the record.
Oh, really?
No. We don't. I can't even imagine playing songs that I had written. Like, I can't imagine playing songs. This is a hard sentence to put out. My brain's kind of keeps getting glitched there. Like, it keeps hitting this wall. But, because it's happened before. But when I write a new song, I want it to be on record before I play it live, I guess is the way to say it. So the stuff that we played live that was, new or unreleased were actually old songs that we just kind of, reconfigured for that moment. So, yeah.
Oh. Well,
sorry to disappoint you.
No, it's okay.
But you thought they were great.
So, yeah,
now you're going to be on the message boards. You're going to be like, I used to love Tegan and Sara, but then they never played any of the songs I played live, and I hate that.
Well, that is our poll question today is, do you stick with artists? I mean, this is on your sixth album. Do you stick with artists through and through. Now, Sainthood, let's talk about the making of this album. Both you and Sara at one point went to New Orleans for what was called a collaborative songwriting experiment.
True.
So what was that experience like?
You know, it was a lot better than I think some people thought it was going to be. I think some people thought maybe it might be a bit disastrous, you know, like maybe there would be some fighting or maybe we just wouldn't accomplish anything, or I don't know. We'd never written with anyone. It wasn't just that we were worried about writing with each other. I think people just projected that it might not be. I mean, it's something that you have to learn how to do. It's not like something that comes naturally, you know. It's especially when you've been writing your own songs for 14 years to all of a sudden change that up and go, you know, write with someone else. It seemed like it might be really hard, but it was actually easier than we thought it was going to be. We got 7 songs written. They all sound like very similar and strange, like in terms of the production, but none of them ended up getting picked for the record. We picked a couple actually, but we've slowly weaned cut songs like as we went through the pre-production process. So
none of the co-writes from New Orleans. None.
Which doesn't. I know that makes it sound like they're probably not very good, but they are. They just all kind of need to go together, I think, to make sense.
As a package.
Yeah, so like maybe we'll put an EP out next year or something. So, but the cool thing was that we wrote the song Sainthood, which we didn't really, I mean, we wrote the song and then we sort of used Leonard Cohen lyrics, and it ended up sort of influencing and shaping how we approached the making of Sainthood. And we kind of became really attached to the sentiment of that Leonard Cohen song. Well, the song's actually called Came So Far for Beauty, but we became kind of attached to his lyrics and attached to the sentiment, and it sort of shaped how Sainthood itself actually came to be.
And I thought possibly, I just found out about the Leonard Cohen reference researching, but I thought maybe it was a reference to New Orleans, the city of saints.
Right. I mean, some people have drawn that parallel, but no.
Okay.
It's really, I mean, it was really awkward at first because I really loved that song. And when we started working with Chris Walla from Death Cab on the record, you know, before we'd even got into pre-production, you know, he really liked that song. And then when we got into pre-production, you know, we added Howard Redekop, who's another Vancouverite, to the mix. And everybody really liked the song and liked the idea of calling the record Sainthood and loved the idea of the song opening the record. But then we could not get the rights to it. And then we decided that we were going to still call the record Sainthood anyway. And I was really worried and nervous that people were going to misinterpret that title as maybe like a religious reference.
Right.
And there have been times in our lives where we've been sort of accused of being like the most religious, non-religious people ever, because we're constantly saying things like, you know, you just got to let the universe guide you. And like, I don't know, maybe it's just meant to be. Or like, I just felt this deep connection to something. I can't explain what it was.
But there's a difference between being spiritual and being religious.
Right, right. So, but, you know, like just this idea that there's something that we believe in, you know,
right.
And whatever. So I just started thinking about, oh no, like people are going to think like this is like that weird phase where we get all like
New Age?
Yeah, and religious or something like that. So, but it's definitely not that. It's sort of like a romantic, you know, it's sort of just like a romantic way of saying I'm really into you.
Yeah, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
And now I'm just confused at one thing you said. You couldn't get the rights. I don't understand.
Well, because like, I mean, quick, you know, probably know this, but like, I mean, anyone can cover anyone's song. And
so you were doing a cover?
Well, this is the thing, is that anyone can do a cover of anyone's song, but we weren't technically covering Leonard Cohen. We just used his lyrics, and not even all of them, and not even some of them were right. I mean, Sara kind of bastardized the lyrics a little bit. So it wasn't considered a cover, and so we had to get permission to use it because we were basically using lyrics. And
so you used his lyrics in your song,
basically,
sort of paraphrasing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And they were like, no. So we went back like 8 different times, different people. Like we I mean, none of us could believe it. We were like, really? It's such a cool song, really? But then someone very close to me in my life asked me, like, if a band you'd never heard of, you know, came to you and said they wanted to use the Con lyrics, but it was a different song and it was going to be called Couch Potato, you know, and they put it out on their record as their song, but they're borrowing your lyrics, would you do it? And I was like, you know, probably not. Like, I have such an intense attachment to my own work that I don't mind if people cover our music, but if they were to change it, I mean, I think that would be an interesting project to get 12 bands together and get them to borrow lyrics from each other and write new songs.
Right.
But we weren't really in a writer's circle with Leonard Cohen. I mean, we were like, we were in a writer's circle with each other.
In a way, you were sampling him.
We did sample him, yeah. Except it wasn't 30 seconds. It was like 2 minutes. So.
Right.
Anyway, we got denied.
We're speaking with Tegan Quin from Tegan and Sara about the new album Sainthood. We're taking your questions for Tegan as well. You can email them, feedback@cbcradio3.com. You can Twitter us at CBCRadio3, and you can post your questions to our blog. We're going to get to your questions right after we hear a song, a song from Sainthood here on CBC Radio 3, and it is called Hell.
I know. The religious references on this record are really funny.
I didn't think of any religious...
I never thought of it ever either, except that we played a show in Victoria a week ago. And I was like, we're going to play some new songs off of Sainthood, our new record. And I just, it's not a religious record. And I give like a little thing. And people are kind of giggling or whatever. And I'm like, and the fact that we're in a church right now is not, like, that wasn't on purpose. That was accidental. And then...
You sound so defensive about it.
I know, I was acting really defensive, but partly for the comedic effect.
Right.
But then I was like, anyway, okay, enough of me. We're going to play the first single now. It's called Hell. And everyone like burst out laughing. And I was like, oh, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the term hell is so innocuous now and so common.
Kind of like Sainthood.
Well, I would say sainthood might be a little bit more weighty than the word hell.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on what your idea of what a modern day saint is now.
But this song, Hell, is very strong musically and lyrically. Can you tell us what it's about?
Yeah, I mean, I when I finished working on the con, I sort of was still working on the con, like in my head. I was still like, it wasn't perfect in my mind, and I was still chasing the same sort of unrequited relationship. And I realized quickly that people were really tired of hearing about that, especially in my writer circle, i.e. Sara. So I sort of like felt like almost blocked. Like I didn't know what I was going to write about for the next record. And I'd moved to the downtown east side. I was living right near Pigeon Park, and I sort of started to kind of get lost in that world and sort of like realize that drug addiction, or like, just that first, like any, and not even drug addiction, just like drugs and alcohol, and like just sort of like that initial exploration period can sometimes feel a lot like when you meet somebody and you almost feel like uncontrollable, like urges to be with them. And, like it's almost like this high that you're trying to, sustain. And then it sort of starts to run out. And then before you know it, you're in sweatpants watching like an entire, TV series, on your Friday night. And it's just like all the fun's gone and whatever. Anyway, that was a terrible analogy. But you know what I'm saying is like basically the fun wears out, but you're still in the relationship.
Right.
You're still kind of addicted, and then the drama starts happening and the arguing, and like before you know it, you're not having any fun, and yet you're still in that relationship. And I started to sort of draw the parallels between like addiction, or like this idea that like you have this outcome that you think is going to be a certain thing, and you sort of project and expect something to be a certain way, and then it ends up ripping apart your life and being a disaster. And I sort of felt that way about this relationship that I'd been trying to get. So Hell is sort of about me and about the downtown east side all at the same time, which is weird because I've never written a song about like a neighborhood, or B, anything but me. So it was really strange. Like it's strange to talk about because it feels so kind of like weird. But
it's
anyway.
A Vancouver song.
I know that feels weird to say that, but I think it is sort of about Vancouver, but it's mostly just about this, idealistic, but then horrifying, passion, love affair with something that's not bad, but not good either.
All right, well, let's hear it.
I mean, drugs are bad. Drugs are bad. Drugs are bad. Drugs are bad.
This is the CBC Radio 3 debut of Hell.